Dallas Cowboys thank you notes, 877-881-1053. You want to get involved on the truckwreck.com text line. Also want to hear from you on the Twitch, on the YouTube. A lot of stuff going on. Who deserves your Dallas Cowboys thank you notes?
I say Dak, number one. I at halftime, I was texting my dad, and I said, hey, this is going to have to be one of the games where Dak wins. The defense isn't helping, and I don't know if they're going to help. Now, in the end, they did a good enough job, but that was Dak winning the game. Not all by himself, but that's the way life goes. I mean, I know people want it to be more fair. Reggie wants it to be more fair. Too bad. Life's not fair. Judging people isn't fair. It never will be. It's all about the quarterback and the wins, and that's the way it goes, and that's the way it's always going to be. And Dak yesterday had to win that game. He wasn't going to get help, and he did it. And to me, that was one of those big wins for Dak Prescott. Not the biggest win, but a very big win where, Dak, you have to win this. We're not going to help you on the other side.
I did like one of the things he said after the game when he was asked about his critics, and he said, the great thing about that is I have the pen and the paper, which I think is a great acknowledgement of I can change my story, and he can. They win a Super Bowl this year, everything changes.
Yes, and I know we just went through baseball playoffs. Is this fair? When somebody pitches 6 innings and gives up 2 runs and you lose the game 2-0, we're like, God, that guy, get those 2 runs. What a bad job of walking that guy and giving up a double. Now a guy gives up 4 runs in 5 innings and you win the game 6-4. You're like, great battle. Way to go. Way to get out of those situations and only give up 4 runs. You're like, wait a second. That's the way life is. Fair or unfair, that's the way it is. And so Dak deserves, to me, a huge thank you from a lot of Cowboy fans. He's been playing outstanding football, and yesterday he had to do it, and he did it.
Dude, I one of my notes, I wanted to go make sure I did it, is Dak having to be Superman right now. And there were lots of moments where he had to be Superman because the offensive line was getting kind of beat, and he turned around and he's like, oh, crap.
There was 2 sacks he took that I thought from holding the ball too long, but the offensive line was rough.
Then he also makes the play where he flips it to Pollard and gets positive yards. And you're like, how did he even do that? Or the play where Terrence Steele got completely beat and he disappears out of the guy's hands and gets another positive play. And you're just like, dang, Aaron Rodgers said he's playing at a different level. The position, he's actually playing quarterback right now, which is different than just being a guy that's back there and collecting information. He's back there playing the position at the highest I think we've seen him play in a long time. And last night he definitely deserves it. I'm still going to go with Ferguson for my thank you note. I thought he brought attitude to the game last night that it took a while for everybody to catch on to. But Jake Ferguson, man, last night. Here, let me go real quick, Kevin, up into my notes because
while you look at your notes, you'll like these 2 texts. From the 214, thank you to Jake Ferguson for being a dog. And from the 254, thank you, Jake Ferguson, for the attitude. So that's, what you were just referencing.
The Cowboys were they were down 7-3, and I said badass drive for the Cowboys, big response, and they had attitude about them. Love the dump off to Ferguson. Then the 47-yard pass interference. Like, there's an art to pass interference throws. A lot of people don't give enough credit to what Tom Brady did flipping the field. But, Mike, we've discussed that at length a lot of times. But then there was also Ferguson saying, 3 straight plays. He hurdles a player on one and gets lit up by Frank Clark. Frank Clark's jawing at him. Frank Clark then gets blocked out of a play by Ferguson on the next play, and then he gets a big screen for a big touchdown, and they get the touchdown to win that. So I really like the way that Ferguson was playing last night. I thought he deserves a lot of credit for this game. The toughness factor was huge for me. That's one of the biggest factors for sure. Thank you to Dak's future baby for inspiring him to play better. Kevin, as you know, children can inspire you. We have Noah here today. A lot of people walking up going, the real Noah is right here in front of our eyes. This is amazing.
Have you guys we haven't mentioned DeMarcus Lawrence today on the show, right?
Yeah.
So I think a thank you letter to him. The 4th and, I can't remember, 1-2 yards, he blows that up, gets the tackle, gets you off the field. And then I was watching Louis Riddick today, right? He was talking about how he thought it was a really bad play call by Seattle not to block Micah Parsons at the end of the game. But he also said, look at what DeMarcus Lawrence does. He's actually rushing up the field. But once he sees that, obviously, Micah's going to get there in a hurry and then sees Dallas, the running back, fading over to kind of get a screen type of situation. He recognizes that pretty quickly, too. So he is like, this is a bad play call when you let Micah Parsons run free, and then DeMarcus Lawrence, one of the smartest defensive ends in football, is on that side of the field, too, and is recognizing that you are running a screen situation here, too. So I think DeMarcus Lawrence, even though the defense didn't play well that last night, DeMarcus Lawrence had 2 major plays late in the game.
And Kevin, I know one of the players that I've been very high on since he got here. We got lucky to be able to interview him last year where he dropped 10 pounds of fluid right behind him in his seat. And you brought him up this week as one of the improved players is Oso Digizua.
Yeah.
Last night he made a huge sack on Geno Smith that I thought was that's part of his skill set. Yes, he's really good in the middle there as a guy that can help with the run game, stopping it, but he applies so much pressure from the interior position. It's a lot of fun to watch what he did last night as well.
From the 2-1-4, thank you to Micah Parsons for keeping that fire all game long, even though it could have been easy to be frustrated with the lack of results. It was interesting after the first half when you saw the breakdown of pressure. It was the highest pressure rate that Geno Smith had seen all season, yet the Cowboys at that point hadn't gotten a sack.
Yeah.
And it felt like it didn't totally balance. You're like, all right, I know they haven't gotten a sack, but they have been putting a higher pressure rate on him than at any game this season. So, I mean, look, you prefer if you wrap up the play yourself. You get the sack, get home, and finish it up. But they did a great job with getting pressure yesterday.
I agree for the most part. I think better in the second half as the game wore on.
I agree.
Probably not early in the game, but as the game wore on.
Even though in the first half is when they had already set the record, so I'm sure they surpassed it against Seattle.
Yeah, I will say this. Also, a thank you letter to the TOLOs right now as we are packed at Buffalo Wild Wings in Rockwall, and TOLOs are sharing tables with each other as TOLOs are like, there's nowhere to sit. So I'm seeing TOLOs sharing tables right now, which is really cool.
Yeah, I like that part,
that
man.
Is very
That's
cool,
my favorite part. People making new friends as we go along.
Hold on, are you about to tell me that the friends
It's the friends we made along the way are the most important, Kevin. And the drink specials, obviously the Miller Lite specials are fantastic as well.
Good point.
From the 817, thanks to DK Metcalf for showing us Bland hasn't been tested yet. I think this is a great opportunity, Mike. You know how coaches are. This is a great opportunity to take DaRon Bland into the film room and go over some of the technique things that he did. I think there's some footwork that could be worked on a little bit, getting across in front of guys a little bit more. But, that was a tough game for him last night because they said we're going to mark that dude and go after him over and over and over. So I know that's not a Cowboys thank you letter, but I think it might benefit Bland better along the way. He's been pushed up and propped up really high the last few weeks, and something like that could ground him and get him back to being focused again.
I know this person has not gone under the radar at all, but thank you note to CeeDee Lamb for just always being that dude. Like, you need a pass.
So reliable right now, man.
With the exception of that one drop, which I know was really agitating at the time, but you need a first down. You need to spark the offense. There he is.
I like what you're saying here. I was going to use this in Mike Likes It, but I'm going to ask right now off of CeeDee Lamb. I think, Corey, you had him very high on your list maybe before people wanted to put him high on the list. I don't think there's any doubt that Tyreek Hill's the best wide receiver in the game today, right now, because Justin Jefferson's been hurt all year. I'm a big fan of Jamar Chase, but he's had a rough year because of his quarterback situation. So I was wondering if Tyreek Hill's number one, where is CeeDee Lamb now? And I would put him in the top 5 easily. I'm just wondering.
I got to put
guys.
A.J. Brown up there.
I'm with you.
With Jefferson out?
Yeah, with Jefferson out.
All right.
He kind of. I'm going in 2023. Just like last year in 2022, you had to take Cooper Kupp off the list. He might have been number 1 going into 2022, but with his injury, you had to take him off the list.
I think I'm putting A.J. Brown second. I haven't looked at the stats, but he is just somebody that I think strikes fear in opposing
I'm
defenses.
not disagreeing. I think this is your list, and I'm just wondering, Corey, after Tyreek Hill, and maybe if you want to put CeeDee Lamb 1, you can, but I'm wondering after Tyreek Hill if CeeDee Lamb is number 2 or is he number 3?
I mean, I think A.J. Brown, I'm looking at the stats right now.
Okay, yeah.
And with 1 week more played, he has 130 more yards. So A.J. Brown could make that up this week.
Sure.
He has 23 more, 27 more receptions than him, or 17 more receptions. Same number of touchdowns. I've been telling you, I think CeeDee Lamb needs to add to his touchdown repertoire, and he did last night. But I will say this. Uniquely different because I'm not giving A.J. Brown the end arounds. I'm not handing the ball off to A.J. Brown in the backfield, and that's something that CeeDee Lamb can do. I think Tyreek Hill can do that as well. But him, DJ Moore,
what about Diggs?
Diggs is still there. It's just I'm curious why he's not on the field on important third down plays.
Okay, so
I don't know what's going on there.
I'm with you, Kevin. I think right now, being fair to where injuries have happened, I think he's the third best receiver in the NFL.
CeeDee?
Yeah, I think behind
absolutely.
the two guys that Kevin named. Now, if Justin Jefferson is completely healthy, that could change things. If Jamar Chase had his quarterback healthy, that could change things, and maybe now I'm looking at him as the fifth best receiver in the NFL. But I think he's a top 5 receiver in the NFL, even when everybody's healthy.
People said last year that he wasn't whenever he earned that spot, and they were like, well, if Cooper Kupp, okay, well, he wasn't there.
Early in the year when CeeDee got ticked off, people said he's not a number 1 receiver. I thought that was silly.
Absurd.
But
and
I think
a lot of times people say that because he even addressed that last night. He's like, a lot of people will say that because I'm in the slot a lot because I line up all over the field.
Yeah.
He said, but my favorite part about that part is it's like hide and seek. Good luck trying to figure out where I am when we come out of the huddle. And I loved hearing that out of CeeDee Lamb because he knows he can do it from any spot on the field.
And I'm glad you brought that up because there's like one or two people who consistently were like, you can't be a number 1 in the slot. And I was like, first of all, I don't know if I totally agree with that, period, with the way football has changed.
Are we fighting wars in Great Britain again?
Yeah.
In square boxes?
And secondly, he doesn't only line up in the slot.
I'll go back to history of 1994 when San Francisco won the Super Bowl. Do you know what the San Francisco 49ers did for Jerry Rice to destroy the Dallas Cowboys?
They put him in the slot.
They put him in the slot because they didn't want Dion traveling with them, and they knew Dion wasn't really much of a slot cornerback. He didn't want to be in all of that traffic.
He wanted to take away
He wanted to be on the outside. So back in the day, Jerry Rice, the greatest wide receiver of all time in 1994, to beat the back-to-back champ, said, what are we going to do? We're going to put Jerry Rice in the slot and destroy the Dallas Cowboys, and it worked. And so going into the slot, the greatest wide receiver of all time went into the slot to get an advantageous situation.
And you remember whenever LeBron James kind of shut down Jason Terry, and Jason Terry said, yeah, let's watch him do that through 6 games. And then Rick Carlisle set up as many screens as possible for Jason Terry to run through, and LeBron couldn't chase him through all those because they were different styles of guys.
Now, I don't think I would have said this if the Cowboys would have lost, but on a Shout-Out Friday, shout out to Jackson Smith and Jigba. He is
had a great
from
game.
Rockwall.
Yeah.
He played high school football in Rockwall,
Yeah.
and so shout out to him. You played great, but not good enough.